The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion is often cited, actually with Morrowind and Skyrim as well, as one of the more important open world RPGs. I would say that Morrowind and Oblivion are even more groundbreaking than Skyrim in terms of what they did and how important they were for video games, video game history in general. And so when the rumors and leaks were coming out about a Oblivion remaster, I was kind of hesitant to talk about it because I was like, if this is true, that's amazing, but it's kind of a long shot. Bethesda doesn't usually do this. There was the whole project with Skyblivion, which I think is really cool, remaking the Elder Scrolls 4 with the Skyrim assets, engine, all that stuff, right? Basically, and making a full game out of that with a very dedicated team on PC doing that, fan group. But I was skeptical of the existence of this game, and then lo and behold, it really was announced, it was dropped, and so the question kind of comes up of, is it worth playing? Now, I'm going to come at this from two angles. First off, I did play the original Oblivion on the Xbox 360. I played it many years after it came out, many years. I played it after playing Skyrim, so I don't have the nostalgia for Oblivion that some people have in that sense, of it being like my first huge RPG. But the game is extremely important to me at the same time, to admit my own biases, because my dad passed away in 2019, and it was one of the last games we were in the middle of playing together. We had completed the main story, we completed the Shivering Isles, we completed some of the expansion stuff, but before we could finish every single quest, he died, and so I never went back to it. It's not the game's fault, it's just, if you've ever lost someone where there's something tied to them like that, it hurts, you know? And Skyrim was his favorite game of all time. So I do have a lot of positive memories of the Elder Scrolls, and looking at this, I don't want to say that I looked at it with like super harsh lenses or anything like that, but it is something for me where I do have standards for these games. So let's take a look at it today. Is this game worth buying, or is it worth playing? You can actually play it right now on Game Pass if you have Game Pass on Xbox. I prefer to buy physical games, so I do hope that eventually it is released on that. But as of recording this audio, I don't remember ever seeing a plan to release it physically. If you are, if you see differently, let me know in the comments. I'd love to see that. I'd probably replay it on PlayStation 5 at that point. And I'm sure I will get it on PC too. So if you can't tell, I already do think it is worth playing. But I do have a question of the day for you, which is, what do you think about this remaster? What are your thoughts regarding it? Now, I truly believe that remasters, they've conditioned us as gamers to believe that a remaster is just an up-res. It's like just knocking something from 720p to 1080p or 1080p to 4K, cleaning up some textures and calling it a day. But this is a lot more in-depth than that. This Oblivion remaster, I really think is impressive, and it could just straight up be called the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake from the ground up, because it does use like parts of the original engine, stuff like that. It combines it with another one, and there are parts of the game that do play very much in a dated way. They don't try to take this and modernize every aspect of it, change every little detail, and rewrite the entire story. What they did, and the team even said this, is they specifically did not want to remake Oblivion in the sense of changing a bunch of stuff in it, in the sense of taking it and making it a different game. What they wanted to do was kind of what Tomb Raider Remastered did, like the Lara Croft Tomb Raider games, when they did the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 and now 4 through whatever remasters. Was like they wanted the game to mostly be what the game was, but they wanted you to play it the way that your brain remembers it. Like how when you play a game when you're a kid, you fill in a lot of details, things seem more in-depth than they are, they seem more impressive than they are, and there are times when you go back to a game that you played when you were younger, maybe a teenager, young adult, etc., and those nostalgia goggles kind of come off a little bit, where you say, oh, like this doesn't look the way I remember it. I remember the graphics being amazing, because at the time, that was the bar, right? The bar was lower than whatever that game was. And so what they did was they took this and they tried to enhance it in terms of its looks. They tried to bring it up to the level of modern gaming, and I would argue in a lot of ways it looks better than Skyrim does. Now, does it look better than Skyrim on an ultra high def PC playing in 8K with all kinds of mods that add ENBs and shaders and, you know, new textures and all this? No, it doesn't. It's like, we're talking about a console game still. No shade to that. I have a PC and consoles, and it obviously is still, you know, just something that can run on everything. But I do think they did a very good job of cleaning up the world, making it look better, and in most cases the game runs very well. Something I did personally notice with this game in my experience so far, the hours I have put into it, because I obviously haven't beat it yet, is that there are some performance problems, at least on Xbox Series X. Maybe you won't encounter them, and performance problems have always been a Bethesda issue. So I don't want to excuse it every time Bethesda puts out a game and there's performance problems. Like, we're talking, you know, you're trying to run in the open world, it might freeze for a full second and then continue at some point. Is it a huge deal? Is it game breaking? Does it ruin your experience? I certainly don't think so. I can't really see a scenario where it would, but it is something that is still here. It's not like Bethesda learned from that and they've totally fixed all their performance problems. I mean, even Starfield, it's like you go back to Starfield, if you were one of the people who played it, and you'll see the same thing, right? There was not perfect performance. So that in typical Bethesda fashion, that's back. That's certainly, I guess, if you're nostalgic for Bethesda games, though, you're probably not going to care, I think. But that's just me. Now, when it comes down to it, there are some things that I do wish that they had changed. And you might think, well, Jay, if you're a big fan of Oblivion, why would you even say that? You know, like, you should think the game's perfect. I never found Oblivion perfect, especially in the sense of its character creator, which I think is better here, but still very lacking. Now, there are criticisms people can make about, like, some of the UI changes, things like that. I know there were people who were mad that instead of male and female, it says type 1 and type 2. I'm going to be honest, I don't really care. I find the change unnecessary, kind of pointless. It didn't make me mad. But one of the things I did notice with the character creator is I do wish it was more in depth. Because as someone who plays games even on PC, a lot of times, especially with Bethesda, I notice that they are a canvas. Like, their games are a canvas for very talented, amazing mod creators. And so this game launched without mod support on PC. I'm sure people will get around it. I don't really know why Bethesda did that, especially since the fan project Oblivion is definitely going to be able to be moddable, because it's, you know, working with Skyrim, which people have modded forever. But that said, I don't really know why they did that. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because whether you're playing it on console or PC, this has kind of some of the same character creation problems. Like, if you're trying to make a pretty man or woman or whatever, you know, you're going to have some issues, because the Bethesda character creators have never been amazing in their base state. They're fine, but they're not great. And I still kind of find myself, like, looking at some of the updates to this game, where I'm looking at things like they updated some of the leveling systems. It's still similar to the original, but it's a little bit of a mix of the original with Skyrim and some modern RPG elements to try and make it so that you don't have to grind the worst or least used skills a ton just to level up. Like, they wanted to actually improve their leveling system, which I give them credit for, right? Like, that's an example of taking gameplay elements and trying to enhance it and make it better, not for a modern audience or whatever people throw around now, you know, like where they say, oh, well, it was always bad, but now it's good. It's not like that. It's just you're taking an element that maybe didn't age the best. You still have the original Oblivion widely available. There's discs of it. It's available for download on Xbox. I know it's available for download on PC. You know, it's all over the place. So you're not taking it away. You're not deleting the original. You still leave that available for purchase. And then what you do is you clean up all the images. You redo kind of from the ground up the way the graphics look, the way the world looks. You keep it the same for its design for the most part. But then you change the coat of paint on it, and you change some of the gameplay elements to make them work better for what people expect out of RPGs. That to me makes sense. That's a change that I'm totally fine with. And if I don't like it, I can play the original Oblivion That's okay with me because I have a disc-based copy of it and I have it on PC and I can mod it there. But my problem with character creation and stuff like that is, why are modders still better at this than Bethesda is? You know, like, the fact that a lot of the characters are still kind of ugly and don't really look very good. I guess it is in the spirit of the original Oblivion. There were a lot of very, very ugly NPCs and character choices and things like that. But I do wish that the world, like that some of the inhabitants of the world matched the beauty of the world itself. You know, that you could craft a character more in depth than you can. Like, is it better than the original? I guess sure, kind of. Like a little bit. But like, it's still not very impressive to me. That would be my biggest criticism, is the character creator. As far as my time with the game and the performance. Everything else I've been completely fine with. Usually it runs fine. The voice acting is still great. Really nothing to complain about there. It's still a little janky with its voice acting. That's fine. I think it's fun. If I wanted it to be some perfect, totally different game, I suppose I wouldn't be playing Oblivion in the first place, right? But as someone who, you know, like I said, I had a very emotional connection to this game and to Skyrim. I really do think it's worth playing. And it's not because of that. Like, I feel like if anything, I am harsher on it, maybe because of some of those things, you know, where it's like, it's a special game to me. If anything, I would be more inclined to say, don't play it. Like, go play the original. That's what matters more, because of my nostalgia with my dad or something. But I really do think that they did a good job of what they set out to do. Some gameplay elements with leveling have changed a little bit. A lot of it's the exact same. They didn't go around censoring the game as far as anything I've seen. There's that one UI change. I get why that's a talking point. It doesn't bother me. Do I think it's pointless? Sure. I do kind of think it's pointless, but it's whatever. I wish the character creator was better. I wish that it ran slightly better. Overall, I'm impressed. You know, like, I think it's worth owning. I think it's worth getting. If you want to try it out through Game Pass or something like that, right there is a way that you can try it out without buying it. With a price tag, at least in the US, of, I believe, 50 USD. I don't think it was 60. I believe it was 50. It's already cheaper than other games, a lot of them on the market. I believe that there's another RPG, I think it's Expedition 33, that's also cheaper than a lot of other games, if I'm remembering right. So, like, there are other options out there for RPGs right now that are coming out that are not super expensive, and I think that's great to see. I think that overall, this is a respectful recreation of the original Oblivion. I do hope that on PC, it is able to receive support from the modding community, because looking at this game, I love, like, vanilla Skyrim. I love Skyrim with all of its DLC. I like, you know, Oblivion with all its DLC, etc. Like, how it could be played on console just as is. I like that. But something I really love about these games, like I said, is them being able to be a canvas for more creations. Do I wish that some more of these creations came from Bethesda themselves? That they would enhance their character creation? That they would enhance some of these systems a little more? I've always wished that. Playing Starfield definitely makes, I think a lot of people wish that. But as it is, it's a very respectful recreation. I am pleased with it. I'm happy it exists. I think it's cool. And I think it's really awesome to know that for a lot of people, they're going to be revisiting this game for the first time in a decade. And for a lot of other people, they're going to be experiencing this game for the first time in their life, and they're not going to be experiencing some hack job version of it. I think that's very cool. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm interested to hear your thoughts down there. If you enjoyed the video, I have made other Elder Scrolls videos before. It is something I want to cover more. I also would like to talk a little bit more about why this game is so important to me, maybe in a different video. But regardless, I enjoyed you being here. I hope you'll leave a like and subscribe if you want to support this channel. We have several ways. We have a Fortnite code, which is DJAY123. We have other channels in the description down below. I actually started a Let's Play on this game over on my channel, Degenerate Plays, where we play through games podcast style together, hang out, have fun, me and my friends. And finally, we have our own store, cosmobunny.shop, where we sell coasters, keychains, trays, and more from recycled paper from comic books, manga, magazines, and more that have been damaged. What we do is we take those different things, we take those books and the paper that have been damaged, we recycle most of it, we reuse some of it in a new medium, we transform it to create something new, And then, you know, the rest is history. So I hope you'll check that out. Discount code DJAY123 gets you 10% off your first item there. Have a fantastic day. And as always, everyone, stay shui.